I have a question for you. What is the name of Doc Brown's dog in Back to the Future? Hi, I'm Mark Ellison from 5 Daily Trivia Questions. 5 questions, 5 answers, and maybe you'll learn something amazing along the way. The number 5. 5 Daily Trivia Questions. Oh, and the answer? Doc Brown's dog's name is Einstein. 5 Daily Trivia Questions.
It is the world's most secretive election. When a pope dies, ancient traditions begin. A silver hammer, a destroyed ring, over 100 cardinals locked away from the world, choosing the next leader of 1 billion faithful. White smoke. The path to a new pope, from Calaroga Shark Media, wherever you get your podcasts.
Calaroga Shark Media.
From Daytona, where the Secret Service is trying to figure out if Rubbins Racing counts as a security threat, this is Ballad.
That's right! Trump took a victory lap. Literally. Let's hit this. Welcome to When Lawn Meets the Dawn. Today's episode of Extreme Home Makeover Presidential Edition. Trump wants to pave paradise and put up a Mar-a-Lago place. That's right. The president is looking to give the White House Rose Garden a little facelift. And by facelift, I mean completely concrete over a historic garden that's been there since 1903. According to the New York Times, Trump has been telling his associates he wants to rip up all that pesky grass and replace it with something more, how do I put this, resort chic. He's even considering installing hardwood floors for dancing, because nothing says preserving American heritage quite like turning a presidential garden into a Palm Beach discotheque. The White House communications director, Stephen Chung, said the White House hasn't been given any tender, loving care in many decades. Yeah, because when I think tender, loving care, I think jackhammer to the rose bushes. Now, a little history lesson. This garden was redesigned by Jackie Kennedy, who wanted it to match the beautiful gardens that she and JFK saw in Europe. But apparently, Trump saw it and thought, you know what this needs? Less Kennedy, more Studio 54. The roses will supposedly stay, though. They'll just be surrounded by whatever material they use for pool decks in Florida. I'm sure Jackie O would have loved that. Nothing says Camelot quite like stamped concrete and dance floors. And here's the kicker. This comes right after Trump basically claimed the Kennedy Center as his own personal property and nominated RFK Jr. for his cabinet. At this rate, the only thing with Kennedy involvement that he won't try to change is the airport. Trump gave NASCAR fans the presidential treatment at Daytona, and not just any presidential treatment. We're talking the full Mar-a-Lago special. The man who turned the White House into a reality show just turned the Daytona 500 into his own personal victory lane. At least he didn't propose replacing the track with a rose garden. There he was, rolling into Daytona Beach like he owns the place, which is, knowing Trump, he's probably already got the paperwork ready to rename it Trump International Speedway and Golf Resort. And the crowd? They went absolutely wild. I mean, where else can you see a former president doing donuts in what's basically a bulletproof Cadillac? Now, Trump's no stranger to Daytona. He did this whole song and dance back in 2020, but this time, he's walking around pit road like he's hosting The Apprentice NASCAR edition. There he is, chatting with Richard Petty, two kings having a casual Sunday conversation about who has the better hair game. You know what's really something? Jimmy Carter was actually NASCAR's biggest presidential fan. That's right, the peanut farmer from Georgia was hosting NASCAR dinners before Trump was even thinking about putting his name on buildings. Carter was waving green flags while Trump was still trying to figure out which end of a hammer to hold. And speaking of presidents at Daytona, both Bushes have played Grand Marshal. But Trump? He had to one-up everyone by leading the pace car. Because apparently being president wasn't enough horsepower for him. I have to say, though, watching a former president lead a pack of race cars around a track, that's peak America right there. That's like if the Constitution had a baby with Monster Energy drinks. Speaking of which, your Monday morning coffee sure was expensive this morning, wasn't it? Coffee futures are up 30% this year, which is obviously Joe Biden's fault. Now, if you're wondering what coffee futures are, that's Wall Street talk for your morning brew is about to cost more than your phone bill. You want numbers? Roasted coffee is up 2.5% from last year. But instant coffee, that jumped 7.1%. That's right, even the coffee that tastes like it was filtered through a gym sock is getting expensive. Experts say we're in a perfect price storm. Brazil had its hottest year on record in 2024, Vietnam's having drought issues, and Colombia's probably wondering why everyone's looking at them next. The big chains like Starbucks are doing okay for now because they buy their beans way in advance. It's like they have a time machine, but only for coffee. But the rest of us, we're about to learn what it feels like to take out a second mortgage for our morning caffeine fix. Trump's latest social media post is basically him going full Napoleon fanfic. And I don't mean he's just acting short with people. He's actually quoting the guy who made himself Emperor of France after promising to save democracy. That's like citing Darth Vader in your self-help book. Here's what happened. Trump hopped on Truth Social, which is basically Twitter for people who think Twitter doesn't have enough conspiracy theories, and dropped this Napoleon quote. "He who saves his country does not violate any law." That's the kind of thing you write in your diary right before declaring yourself emperor of your local HOA. Now, Adam Schiff, who spent so much time investigating Trump, he probably has a "What would Trump do" bracelet just to do the opposite. Jumped in to call Trump out. Schiff basically said that's dictator talk, which is like pointing out that water is wet, but someone's got to do it. Meanwhile, Vice President J.D. Vance is out there tweeting that judges can't control executive power, which is exactly the kind of thing you say right before someone explains to you what checks and balances are. And get this, Trump's been saying that surviving an assassination attempt was divine intervention to restore America to greatness. That's quite the leap from surviving an attack to claiming you're on a mission from God. It's like saying you found a $20 bill in your jacket, so clearly you're meant to buy lottery tickets. Portions of today's program were made with the help of AI, oh my, and not enough coffee to come up with a rule of 3 joke. Hey, I was up late watching Saturday Night Live.
It is the world's most secretive election. When a pope dies, ancient traditions begin. A silver hammer, a destroyed ring, over 100 cardinals locked away from the world, choosing the next leader of 1 billion faithful. White Smoke. The Path to a New Pope, from Caloroga Shark Media. Wherever you get your podcasts.